For your first project, we're going to deal with perspective. Perspective is just a way of saying like how you view something. So it's just like where everything is going to recede to in the distance. In today's case, we're going to be doing 1 point perspective. 1 point perspective means that there is one vanishing point and every object in our scene is going to descend or disappear towards that one singular point. So to start, for your practice, you need to draw one singular point in the center of your screen. It's called the vanishing point, like I said. What we need to do next is start creating shapes that we're going to use as our practice, and then we're going to descend towards that vanishing point. To start with, I'm going to add a square to my scene. You don't have to put yours in exactly the same location that I do, but if you want to practice in exactly the same way, you can. That's fine. You'll notice that I can make these nice, perfect, and neat squares because I'm using a drawing program, drawing app, that has that ability, but you have a ruler or you can use a straight edge. So what you need to do is you need to draw from the vanishing point using a ruler a line from the vanishing point to each corner that can quote unquote see the corner. So if you were to draw a vanishing point to these 3 outside corners, they can all see it. If you were to draw a vanishing point line to the other corner, you see it goes through the object. That means that it is not visible, assuming, of course, our object is solid. So we don't need that one. We just need the 3 that go to the 3 corners. Next, we need to decide where our object ends. So our object needs to have a point at which it terminates, or else it just goes forever into the distance. Right now it's just going infinitely. So we need to draw a line at the base that is parallel to the matching edge, I suppose is a way to look at it. So you'll notice that that line right there is horizontal. That line is horizontal. They are parallel to each other, well, for the most part, meaning that they will never intersect if they went, infinitely forever. It should be a math term that you're familiar with. The same case is for the other side. We need to make that parallel. That side should be pretty much straight up and down. It'll look a little bit tricky, like you'll naturally want to do it kind of like that, where it's tilted to the side. That is not correct. What you should do instead is make sure that it is parallel, which means it's not going to be tilted at the bottom. It's going to be straight up and down. It should be noted that it can be a little tricky for making these lines if you have a very, very skinny side. Say my square was closer in towards the vanishing point, like further to the left. Your natural inclination is going to want to make it more tilted, but try to avoid that. Last, to finish off the object, you're going to need to go ahead and erase the lines that go to the vanishing point. I'm going to leave mine a little bit dotted so you can kind of see where they once were, but you should erase them completely. And from henceforth, you probably should start practicing drawing very lightly because it is a whole lot easier to erase these lines if you've drawn them lightly in the first place. Next, we're going to draw a circle. I'm going to practice doing a cylinder because it has a slightly more unique case in that there are obviously no corners. So circles by design don't have corners. So what you need to do instead is you are drawing a line from the vanishing point to the outermost edge of the circle that the vanishing point can make a connection to. So you can see here I'm going all the way to the outside edge of the circle. If you were to draw a line that went slightly inside the circle, like so, and I didn't have the one on the outside there, you can see that it makes like this weird shape where like the bottom part isn't necessarily connected to the top part, so don't do that. Make sure it is on the outermost edge. You can use your ruler, just kind of scooch it up to your shape until it is on the very edge and draw from there. To terminate this shape, to find its end point, you need to do the same rule where you're finding the same parallel line, but in this case it's curved because it's a cylinder. So we're trying to mimic that same curve on the bottom. And this does take practice. I promise it is not something that you're going to get on the very, very, very first try. But just try to imagine that there is exactly the same type of circle on the bottom, just smaller. So if it is at the top curved in any way, the bottom curve should match the top curve. And in your practice later on, if you have different types of objects, you might do it then. And then, of course, erase your vanishing point lines. Mine are still dotted. Let's say we have a made-up shape, and you're going to have to make up a few of these shapes. So for right here, I've made an L shape. This L shape needs to have a line from every corner that can view the vanishing point. So in this case, I've got the outermost corner, the front two corners will both make a connection, and that corner right there that's kind of back, that also meets the vanishing point. You should be able to just kind of check, like try to draw a line from each corner and see if it goes through. The unique thing about finishing out this sort of shape, though, is that we're imagining an L shape on the bottom that is exactly identical to the top. So first, let's just find the easiest edge. We'll terminate this line. Next, we need to draw another line on the upper portion of the L that is approximately the same distance as that gap. So we're just going to move up a little bit. You're going to want to just draw like a line to finish it, but you can't do that. You got to go up a little bit and then draw your line across. Like so. And again, it should be parallel. The left side is going to be a little bit tricky because it's very skinny, like that case I talked about earlier. So you might want to naturally just want to draw it a little bit more tilted, but it needs to be pretty much straight up and down. And erase your vanishing point lines. Going to make one more shape up just as a practice. This shape is going to be probably kind of like an H shape. I find letters a good source of inspiration. You can do any type of shape you want, stars, semicircles, whatever. For this shape, I need to connect some interior lines to the vanishing point as well as my exterior lines. So doing my normal, just checking each corner, see what goes to the vanishing point. I am drawing from the inside corners as well. Don't forget to do that. On this, that one is very close to the inside edge, so I don't think I need that one. I think that one's actually just slightly inside the line, so I will do this one instead. And the front piece. And also, double check the back of your shape on shapes like this, because there are corners that can see the vanishing point that would not be necessarily hidden. So, okay. We're going to terminate the inside line because it's very flat and easy for me to see. Then I'm going to draw at an angle my line forward because the bottom of our building is also an H shape going across like so. And then I'm just going to use that line on the upper portion to guide where I put the line on the bottom part. Like so. And then I'll just erase my excess. You'll notice that this line would go all the way to the vanishing point. For the sake of simplicity, I'm going to just go ahead and line it up and terminate it before the shape itself. If you are drawing a shape and you don't necessarily have to draw the whole thing, then go ahead and just, pause at the point where it runs into another shape and just stop it there. So for your practice assignment, we are going to be creating a kind of bird's eye cityscape view from the, helicopter above. And to make these shapes into buildings, of course, they're going to need doors and windows. So for doors need to have the top parallel to the top and bottom of your shape, just like you did for ending the shape. And the sides always need to go to the vanishing point. It is tempting to just draw squares on the surface and have them, whatever. You'll notice, though, whenever this is not going to the vanishing point, it doesn't look like it belongs in that building anymore, right? So you want to make sure all your lines go to the vanishing point. You don't have to draw all the way to it. you can just stop the line at the edge of your building shape. The same case goes for windows. If you're going to, well, all your buildings are going to need windows, and the windows also need to be parallel to the top of the building, which is right here. So the top of our building is right there, just in case you were unsure. And on the edges are the sides where I have that door there is the side of the building. So if I'm going to put windows on here, my windows lines also need to be parallel to the roof. They also should probably get smaller the further down towards the vanishing point they go, because that is just how perspective works. The further away something is, the smaller that it appears. So this is a little bit tilted, but you'll see the idea generally. You can see how the top portion is thicker, there are taller windows, and the lower portions are, getting closer and closer together. Any vertical lines for your windows, say you have individual rectangles, or you have just kind of seams in the glass, those all need to go to the vanishing point as well. So for our vanishing point on this building, I'm drawing it kind of towards the vanishing point. This is going to be a window, so the top of the window matched the top of the building, bottom of the window matched the bottom of the building, and it went all the way to the vanishing point. You'll notice that windows, whenever they're little rectangles like this, kind of look almost like rhombuses, I suppose is a good way to put it. They are skinnier in the bottom than they are on the top. So I hope that makes sense. And also, the unique case of the circular building, the windows should curve with the surface of the building. Otherwise, they'd just be kind of stuck out of the building, and that's not really how that works. So they're going to curve along the surface and, again, get smaller as they go further down. And any seams in the windows will go towards the vanishing point. These are maybe not perfectly accurate because I'm just trying to draw them for demonstration purposes, but every single line you draw that goes towards the vanishing point, you need to line up a ruler or else it will not look correct. So this is just a quick example, but you are going to need, in total, 10 different unique shapes. So right now I've got 4. I've got a square, a circle, an L shape, and an H. So I need 6 more different unique types of shapes. Squares and rectangles, you can have 1 square, 1 rectangle. After that, you need to start getting a little bit more creative. And then on top of that, you need to have 15 total buildings. So 15 buildings means that your 10 unique shapes might be repeated about 5 times, or you could have 15 total unique buildings. That's up to you. Just remember that you have about 9 by 12 inches or so to fill up, and you can probably draw a little bigger instead of tiny. You will also have to finish this off by shading it, so don't put a sun in the corner of your paper like I just did. I'm just drawing it for demonstration. This is just to show you where my light is going to be coming from whenever I start shading this drawing. I'm adding myself another layer, so you can just kind of ignore what's going on there. But imagine your sun is coming from a certain direction. Obviously, the tops of your buildings are going to be the lightest portion of your shading. Because the sun is in the sky. I suppose unless you have like a sunset picture, but let's not worry about that for right now. Assume your building's lightest portion. The surfaces that are the furthest away from your sun are going to be your darkest surfaces. And then just kind of make a determination. If you need to check, you can always hold up any random object to a light source and just kind of examine where the shadows exist. So here I'm making my color a little bit darker because I feel like that is more on the opposite side of the sun than the initial one. And then I'm just going to shade in all surfaces of the building. Obviously, you will have some doors and windows to deal with. This is just a quick little example, but this is a good way for you to get some practice in shading before we get to our final version of the perspective project. So, 10 unique shapes, 15 buildings. Every building must have doors and windows on it. Do not draw a sun in the corner of your sky. That's just there for demonstration, but use a common point of light for all of your shapes. And good luck, and let me know if you need any help.